Prime Minister Mark Carney just dropped a bombshell on the North American auto industry, slapping a massive 25% tariff on all U.S. vehicles entering Canada. This stunning retaliation against President Trump's own protectionist measures threatens to tear apart decades of seamless cross-border manufacturing and could cost automotive giants like Tesla, Ford, and GMC billions. What was once the poster child for international cooperation has overnight become a high-stakes economic battleground, sending industry leaders scrambling and investors into a panic. The impact? A potential $25 billion disruption that could permanently rewire how cars are built and sold in North America. From best friends to trade enemies. For generations, the U.S.-Canada automotive relationship has been the gold standard of international economic integration. Tens of billions of dollars worth of parts and vehicles flowed freely across the border as if it didn't exist. Assembly lines in Ontario and Michigan operated in perfect synchronization, with components sometimes crossing the border multiple times before becoming finished vehicles. This wasn't just trade, it was a single unified manufacturing ecosystem. By the end of 2024, this partnership had reached impressive heights. Canada exported $51 billion worth of vehicles, with a staggering 93% going to U.S. consumers. Total automotive trade between the neighbors reached $80 billion annually under their tariff-free agreement. American manufacturers enjoyed unfettered access to Canada's 43 million consumers, while Canadian plants served as key production hubs in continent-wide supply chains. But this seemingly unbreakable bond began to fracture as President Trump doubled down on his America First agenda, hammering Canadian industries with tariffs on everything from steel to dairy. The auto sector, the crown jewel of bilateral trade, remained largely protected until April 2, 2025, when Washington finally dropped the hammer with permanent tariffs on Canadian-made vehicles. Carney's response was swift and harsh. "We cannot tolerate this abuse of our friendship," he declared, announcing a matching 25% counter tariff on all U.S. vehicles entering Canada, effective April 9th. In one dramatic move, Canada shattered decades of automotive cooperation and implemented what analysts call one of the sharpest trade moves in Canadian history. Tough stance backed by Canadian public. What has surprised many American observers is the overwhelming Canadian support for Carney's tough stance. Recent polls show that over 65% of Canadians support retaliation against what they see as bullying by their southern neighbor. Support is even higher in the manufacturing powerhouses of Ontario and Quebec. The Carney government has masterfully framed the issue as one of defending Canadian sovereignty against unfair American pressure. "We're not happy about this move," government officials have said, but Trump's policies are forcing us to retaliate. This message clearly resonated. Some 70% of Canadians support standing up to Washington's demands, even if it means paying more for vehicles. This widespread public support reflects a deeper frustration with Trump's years of protectionist measures targeting Canadian industry. The auto tariffs appear to be the last straw, sparking a nationalistic economic response that cuts across traditional political divisions. Canadian media reports suggest that consumers are increasingly viewing their purchasing decisions through a patriotic lens, turning cold on American brands, with some activists even calling Tesla a symbol of Trump's trade impositions. The strong public mandate gives Carney significant political capital to keep these tariffs in place indefinitely, barring major concessions from Washington. This domestic united front caught the Trump administration off guard. It reportedly expected Canadian leaders to cave under economic pressure rather than risk disrupting such vital trade flows. Before we dig in further, take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us reach more viewers like you. Now let's chart the next course and break down what's coming next. American auto giants face billion-dollar bloodbath. Wall Street is already feeling the pain of Canada's retaliation. On April 3rd, American auto stocks plunged 2 to 4%, with Tesla down nearly 4 points, as investors digested the implications of losing privileged access to the Canadian market. The financial damage could be staggering. Tesla, which sold about 22,000 vehicles in Canada last year and generated $1.5 billion in revenue, now faces a potential $500 million annual loss. Market analysts predict that this could wipe out $2 to $3 billion of Tesla's market capitalization if the situation continues. Detroit's traditional manufacturers aren't faring any better. GMC has built a massive Canadian business, selling American-made pickups and SUVs north of the border. Ford, while operating some Canadian production facilities like its Oakville plant, still relies heavily on US-made models for the Canadian market. Industry experts predict that these companies could see their Canadian market share plummet by 10 to 15% by the end of the year, resulting in combined losses of $3 to $5 billion. The most immediate impact will be on Canadian consumers, who will face sticker price increases of $3,000 to $5,000 per vehicle once importers pass on the 25% tariff. This significant price increase threatens to drive customers to Asian and European alternatives that aren't subject to the new tariffs. American brands have traditionally dominated Canada's lucrative pickup truck segment, but that advantage could quickly evaporate in the face of such significant price disadvantages. Some industry optimists suggest that U.S. manufacturers could avoid the tariffs by shifting production to Canada, but most analysts dismiss this as wishful thinking. Factory construction and labor adjustments would take years and billions of dollars in investment, said one industry observer, leaving U.S. companies exposed in the short and medium term. Global impact and uncertain path forward. The dramatic deterioration in trade relations between these historically close allies sends troubling signals to global markets about the fragility of international trade agreements in today's era of economic nationalism. When even the world's most integrated bilateral trade relationship can unravel so quickly, investors are right to question the stability of global supply chains. The Trump administration appears to have badly miscalculated Canada's response, believing that Ottawa would ultimately accept U.S. tariffs rather than risk economic blowback. Reports suggest that intense lobbying by Tesla and Ford to secure Canadian exemptions from U.S. tariffs failed completely, accelerating Carney's retaliation. This miscalculation has triggered what social media commentators describe as hysterical panic in Washington policy circles and corporate boardrooms. The current stalemate creates a classic lose-lose scenario. American manufacturers are hemorrhaging sales and market share, while Canadian consumers face inflated vehicle prices. Yet neither side seems willing to blink. Carney's government has explicitly stated, "We won't back down unless Trump backs down," while the Trump administration shows little sign of reversing its protectionist stance. The path to a solution remains unclear. Industry insiders report that Elon Musk and other auto CEOs are exploring direct negotiations with Ottawa, but Canadian officials appear unmoved and committed to maintaining tariffs as long as U.S. protectionist policies persist. The situation represents what one analyst called a full-blown saber-rattling trade war that could end in either a complete breakup or a big deal. Closing thoughts. As North America experiences its most serious trade crisis in decades, we're left with critical questions. Will Canada's 25% tariff gambit bring the American auto giants to their knees, or will pragmatism finally prevail in Washington? Are predictions of multi-billion-dollar losses for Tesla, Ford, and GM overblown, or do they accurately reflect the new economic reality? Perhaps the reported panic among U.S. industry leaders reveals the uncomfortable truth that Canada's economic leverage was severely underestimated, and American companies will indeed pay the price for this miscalculation. This auto trade war shows how quickly deeply integrated economies can fracture when protectionism replaces cooperation. What's your take on this high-stakes standoff? Is Canada justified in hitting back hard, or will this tit-for-tat escalation ultimately hurt both economies? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button, and subscribe now for more coverage of North America's biggest economic showdown in a generation. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious and stay fueled. Feel free to check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.